What's up? It's the Monster, and I'm finally back with the end of Static Season 1, and I've got a real treat for you in this video. In this video, I'll be covering both issue 5 and 6, because together I think they form a great cap-off to the end of this series. Issue 5 feels like the true climax the series was leading up to, with Virgil's final face-off against Hot Streak, while issue 6 is a great issue in its own right, but does a bit more legwork to set up a season 2 for Static. These issues bring even more nods to the animated series and the original Milestone comic, and they come together to form a full picture of what the new Static comic wants to be. If this series continues into season 2, I will be interested to see its unique perspective on these original characters continue forward. But let's get into these final issues. Issue 5 picks right up with Static down by Hot Streak. Static makes it clear that the wounds aren't superficial. He is literally dying and almost gives up hope, but just as he thinks he's beat, he remembers his friends are inside the building and that Hot Streak will hunt them down next if he doesn't stop them. This brings Virgil to recall that his sister gave him the glucose tablets to boost his power, and he reaches for one and manages to take it. He almost immediately starts healing, establishing another core difference from the Milestone and cartoon depictions, that he now has a mild healing factor along with his abilities. The supporting cast of his family being the key to his victory reinforces the comic's overall themes of trusting your family, and I love seeing this familiar relationship culminate in the victory against Hot Streak. Once fully healed, Virgil squares off with Hot Streak again, and he takes the chance to show off his signature ingenuity that makes him such an interesting character. Instead of getting into a simple firefight of energy blast, he lures Hot Streak into the facility and electromagnetizes their surrounding monitors and manipulates the cables in order to capture Hot Streak right before discharging electricity through the cables for a boosted shock that knocks Hot Streak out cold. I love his ingenuity in the scene of not just trying to down his opponent, but make sure his opponent doesn't have an easy time catching up with him if he gets back up. I think it's even implied that Virgil is aware that Hot Streak is likely to recover since he is able to recover himself, so tying him up is a great way to get him off of their heels. I think this fight also highlights Virgil's honorable nature. He was fully aware that Hot Streak intended to kill him, and yet he didn't decide to go over the line with his abilities and decided he just needed to trap Hot Streak instead of take the ultimate action against him. This depiction is consistent throughout the end of the book, and we'll see Virgil's mercy as the story goes on. But that's getting ahead of things. With Hot Streak down, Virgil hits up his friends to see how they're doing. Turns out things are going quite well. Darius and the gang have stumbled upon where the Bang Babies are being kept. Darius comments on the awful conditions as we see Puff throw back an insult from her cell. Puff's design takes after the Cartoon Network depiction of the character, and design has aged pretty well in my opinion. Her updated look does not look out of place, and her abrasive personality is clearly on display. Apparently Puff in the Milestone universe was a white woman who used a green smoke motif instead of a purple one, but personally I prefer the Cartoon Network design, just because it's another minority character, and I have to admit there's probably a little bit of nostalgia talking. As Darius walks the cells, he comes across Daisy. She reports that they are keeping the Bang Babies hungry and have forcibly injected power dampeners into their skin, which causes them a lot of pain when they try to use their abilities. Given that some Bang Babies don't have full control of their abilities like Daisy, it's clear this is insanely cruel treatment. Again, it reminds me of the Metis treatment in Black Lightning where they were forcibly experimented on even if their powers could not be controlled and they didn't want them active. The shared DNA between these series is interesting, but much better executed in Static in my opinion. On an aside that foreshadows later events, Richie and Frida run across the room that's been destroyed by a Bang Baby that seemingly escaped before they got there, but we'll come back to that. Before they investigate that further, Static comes to short out the cell doors, freeing all the Bang Babies, and then he draws the power dampeners from the prisoners using his electromagnetism to free them. While Static is working, Darius tries to get the Bang Babies to remain calm and not get angry, and that rubs Static the wrong way. He confronts Darius about not being a Bang Baby and not understanding what they're going through. Darius points out he is just trying to keep everyone focused on escaping, and that as a gay black man, he understands being at risk of losing his life just for being different, and tells Static that getting angry won't help anything. Static concedes after recognizing he has a point for now, and decides to bring it up later. Now, this conflict is a bit contrived in my opinion. I am wondering if they would plan on expanding this in a season 2 to be about how Bang Baby powers do cause some level of instinctual lashing out. I feel like the early issues of Static, referring to the buzzing, could imply that his powers want to be used as much as possible, and the other Bang Babies may have a similar buzz that causes them to act out. But that's pure speculation at this point. That's me just trying to justify a conflict that seems kind of out of place. It could just be another character moment for Darius, who doesn't have a lot of backstory and nostalgia tied to him, so they're just trying to expand on his character and sell it to the reader. And I don't totally mind. It's good to know that like real world conflicts, such as dealing with homophobia, can like be applied directly as a parallel in the story, so spelling it out doesn't hurt anything in my opinion. Once everyone's freed by Virgil, he tells Darius to lead everyone out, but in that moment, Puff and her crew make their move. They block the exit, claiming that they are going to get a big reward for stopping Virgil. As they reveal, they were offered money and immunity to take him down, thus ending issue 5. Issue 5 is a good issue, and I think that final fight between Virgil and Hotstreak really did come together as the climax that I wanted, seeing as he fought him in issue 0 of this technically, bringing their conflict all the way to issue 5, with the ultimate way Virgil was able to get on top of him being his family's help, is a great way to peek off this story. And the twist that there are Bang Babies that were captured that would be willing to betray the other prisoners does make a lot of sense when you consider the fact that they allowed Hotstreak to work for them. It seems apparent that they would offer a similar deal to other Bang Babies. I like that this potential betrayal was kind of foreshadowed. But let's see how the series ends in issue 6. Issue 6 opens with Freddy and Frida having found their way to a security room and noticing soldiers heading towards Darius from surveillance cameras, and they immediately leave to try to warn Darius. Back with Static, Puff explains how they were offered cash and government immunity, so they don't care what happens to other Bang Babies, and they know Virgil can't offer them anything equivalent. These characters are pretty true to their Cartoon Network counterparts, as Shiv quickly runs in to make the first strike. He has a deadly energy sword with a psychotic personality to match, as Derek, another one of Puff's subordinates, points out that he's going full force to attack actual kids, and Shiv just does not care. Puff joins in on the attack with her grass breath, and Static counters with an electric shock. While he's defending himself, Talon attacks him from the side, showing she has some brains, which makes her a good member to have on a team, like in the cartoon. She then shows off her Sonic Dream to throw Virgil back into the Snake Man, whose name I don't know and don't remember, so sound off in the comics if you know who this character is, or if he's just an original villain. Virgil counters him with ease and determines he needs to finish the fight quickly. Puff realizes they're on the rope, so she starts yelling at Destruct, or Derek, to attack. Much like in the show, Destruct is reluctant to be a villain, but he does attack Darius and Daisy, but luckily Daisy uses her deconstruction powers to break down the beam to protect Darius. Static talks Derek down, telling him even if he needs the money, his family wouldn't want him to do this. Derek realizes Virgil is right, and it makes him stop, giving Static an opening to take out Talon and Puff with a quick shock, but Shiv gets in close. Static realizes he can't take on Shiv carelessly, and needs an object to channel energy through in order to disrupt his blade. Of course, Frida arrives with a Deus Ex Machina bat, and Static charges electricity to disrupt Shiv's blade and knock him out. This carries through the theme again of trusting your friends to have your back, and furthers the idea that even without powers you can make a difference. And even though I feel like the bat was not set up to have this ability beforehand, every story gets one Deus Ex Machina, and I like that Frida gets to have her moment. Even in the cartoon, I feel like many side characters were empowered to act, even if they didn't originally have powers, which is why I like Static over some of the other hero shows at the time. After Static takes out the last of Puff's crew, he reiterates that he is there to help and not hurt them, and that they should all escape, showing them mercy as he did Hotstreak. He recognizes they need the money and are just making the worst of a bad situation, so there's no need for excessive force here. But before Puff and her crew can give their answer, officers Frida wanted to warn about show up, armed and ready to fire. Static realizes he can't take them all with no casualties, so he makes the brilliant decision to become the Deus Ex Machina himself and bluff about his power level. He takes the remaining glucose tablets and discharges a ton of electricity, causing the building to black out. And it makes it seem like he can do this again, which he can't. But it buys everyone time to escape, and it's truly badass. And I like that this is a bit of a gamble. The comic does a good job of maintaining a sense of danger and tension, because at the end of the day, Static has a lot of tools, but he's not all powerful, and he has to stay on his toes to win the day, and that makes him a great character to read. I hope they continue this series and do even more cool things like this with Static, because this was awesome. Issue 6 closes with an epilogue, giving us one more taste of nostalgia bait, with Static in his classic outfit from the cartoon. He talks about his dangerous trip with his family, and his dad tells him he's proud of him, and his family understands that he has to keep fighting for the rights of the Bang Babies. You didn't see Static on the news addressing police brutality against Bang Babies and being the voice of his people, telling the world that they aren't thugs, but they are acting for change. This of course parallels real activists and how the media tries to lump activists together with looters and other bad actors, which divert attention from the real issues, such as police brutality. We didn't get our Caesar for season 2, as one of the heads of the organizations that was keeping the Bang Babies, the G-Man, is attacked by a shadowy figure. Spoiler alert, but if you know the animated series, you know this is Static's other arch nemesis, the King of Shadows, Ebon, and he seems to be the one who escaped and destroyed that lab earlier. Ebon is ruthless, so I'd love to see Static fight him in the later issues. Volume 1 ends with Static donning his costume to rescue Derek, who's accidentally transformed back into Destruct, indicating that Derek isn't the bad guy he appeared to be and is deserving of Static's help. This is a powerful comic that I think people need to read for its social commentary and dynamic characters. Great art and great action scenes. I really hope you liked this video, and if you did, please leave a like and subscribe, and leave a comment below if you know any other series I should cover.